Today we're going to put some new line on this spinning reel, and I'm going to use 8-pound monofilament line. But before I put this line on, I need to make sure that 8-pound line is appropriate for this reel and for this rod. So looking closely at the reel, we can see printed right on the spool, it says for monofilament line, it's rated for 4, 6, or 8-pound line. And I should be expecting to get about 130 yards of line on here if I'm using 8-pound monofilament. It also has some ratings for braided line at 6, 8, and 10-pound line if you wanted to use braid. Looking at the rod, we can see it's also rated for 4 to 8-pound line, so everything matches up and we're good to start putting this 8-pound line on this setup. Before we put the line on, we want to make sure that our drag knob is turned clockwise until it's snug. That'll keep the line from slipping when you're reeling the new line in. And then on the front, if you have an anti-reverse switch with an on and an off on each side, you want to make sure that that is switched to on. If it's off, your reel spool can spin in either direction, which is really annoying when you're putting new line on. So make sure that that is turned to on. The last thing is to make sure that your bail arm is flipped over. If that's not flipped over, you won't be able to actually pull line in as you're reeling the new line onto your spool. So now we can tie a knot onto our spool. Now to do that, I'm going to use a slip knot. So I'm going to pull some line out of my spool, and I'm just going to make a loop like this. So I've got a loop with the end of the line up here. I'm going to put 2 fingers through this loop, spin it around twice, and then I'm just going to reach through this loop and grab the main line as it's going back to the spool and pull that through the loop. Now that gives me a little loop right here, which I can make bigger by just pulling on the main line. And I'm going to wrap this loop around my spool. Now if I pull on the main line, the knot goes right down to the spool and tightens up. Now I can trim this end off, and I'll close my bail, put the line into this line roller right here, and now I can start reeling the line in. As you're putting the new line on your reel, you want to make sure that the line is going onto your reel in the same direction that it's coming off of the new spool. So if you look behind your reel and you turn the handle, you can see that this one is spinning counterclockwise as it loads the line onto the reel. And I want to make sure that it's also coming off this spool counterclockwise. Right now it's actually not. It's coming off clockwise. So all I have to do is flip this spool over, and now it's coming off counterclockwise. So now I'm ready to start pulling the line onto the reel. And I'm going to hold the line with a little bit of tension, about a foot up from my reel, and just have my hand right over the top of the new spool. And I'm going to start cranking line on. I'm just going to go around a few times and check the reel, make sure that that line looks like it's loading evenly, it's not jumping off the reel, everything looks good. So now I can start reeling a little bit faster and filling this up all the way. Now I know when the reel spool is full, when it gets about 1/16 of an inch from the edge of the spool, and the edge is considered where there's a little bit of a color change or there's an angle. This reel actually has an angle and a color change, and I'm going to stop when the line gets about 1/16 of an inch from that line. If you have more line on the spool, it will give you a longer casting distance, but also make it more likely that your line's going to jump off the reel unexpectedly and cause a tangle. If you have a little bit less line on the spool, you'll have a slightly shorter casting distance, but less risk of the line jumping off. Okay, I'm going to stop right about there. I'm about 1/16 of an inch from where that color change happens. And now I can just cut the line above my hand. I'm going to loosen up my drag a little bit. And now I'm going to thread the line up through each one of these guides in my rod. And now I'm going to pull out about 5 feet of line, and I can tie on a lure, and I'm all set to go fishing.